I think I have the right to say that I'm one of the luckiest people on this planet right now to be able to tell this story.
Tonight, it's a story that you'll only see on 12 News. Two strangers struck by lightning on the tallest mountain in Arizona. Thanks so much for joining us. For 12 News at 10, I'm Kadiba Devine. Now, one of those hikers is speaking exclusively with 12 News journalist Chase Golightly about the experience. And Chase, he is not lying when he says he is incredibly lucky to be able to even talk about this.
Caribe, they were stuck on that mountain for hours after getting hit by lightning. It's a miracle both survived. Scott Courtwright telling me if he was up there all alone, this may have been his last hike.
This was a first for me, by far, and hopefully the last.
Scott Courtwright is probably one of the luckiest and unluckiest people you will ever meet.
Like I tell everybody, I'm glad just to be alive.
On Wednesday, Scott, who lives in Flagstaff, an avid hiker and archaeologist, decided to hike Humphreys Peak.
It was a beautiful morning, hardly any clouds in the sky.
He's hiked it before and started his journey at 7 in the morning after seeing that weather was supposed to roll in that evening. He made it all the way to the top in about 3.5 hours.
Some low clouds blew in and it started to snow a little bit, but it's just what you expect on that mountain.
It was at the top where he met John, who was visiting from Canada. He asked Scott if he could take his picture.
And I had taken his picture at the summit, and I'd walked back to my backpack, and I think I was kneeling down to get a drink and put my pack on when it happened.
It was at that moment Scott and John were struck by lightning.
There was no noise. I just woke up on my back, unable to move.
They were both unconscious for about 15 minutes.
Can you even describe what it was like to be hit by lightning?
Complete total paralysis. My first memory was laying there and trying to lift my right arm. And I remember holding it up, and I thought I had broken my arm in half at the forearm. And I visually remember that when I tried to do that, my whole arm to me looked like a noodle. I could not feel my arm.
It was around this time when John woke up.
He was screaming, asking if someone else was there. And I let John know. I said, John, I'm here. We were struck by lightning.
Saying John was hit directly.
And I know that because almost his entire wardrobe was destroyed by the lightning strike. He was almost completely naked because the lightning had just destroyed his clothing.
Scott made his way to John, covering him up in extra jackets he had to try to keep him warm. Scott says John was shaking uncontrollably from the cold weather, brutal wind, as rain and hail hit them.
I was 110% in survival mode, devoting a lot of energy and just materials, to keeping John warm.
By a miracle, Scott was able to call 911 for help. But just looking at what they were going through, he knew a helicopter wouldn't be able to save them.
We were stuck at the summit for over 3 hours.
It was at that point when both tried to hike down the mountain themselves. But John could only make it so far.
He's like, I can't go anymore. I'm too tired. I'm afraid I'm going to pass out.
Scott then trekked a little further, finally able to meet with the Coconino County Sheriff's Search and Rescue Team, who took him down the rest of the way.
I can't explain how happy I was.
It was shortly after when crews were able to get to John and also bring him down. Both were taken to the hospital for treatment, Scott suffering multiple burns.
I have burns on both of my feet where the lightning bolt left my body, and those are pretty deep burns.
When I asked about John,
I texted him shortly before our interview here, and he says he's doing well, and they're looking at his burns.
Two strangers bonded by an incredibly rare experience, one that could have easily ended both of their lives. But Scott believes the only reason why they made it out of this alive is because they had each other.
If I hadn't been there and John was there by himself, it'd be a completely different outcome. And the same can be said for me. If John hadn't been up there and I was by myself and was struck, I probably would have died on there.
Now, Scott tells me he went to the doctor today and he may have to have some skin grafts down the road depending on how his healing goes. But he also told me once he is fully recovered, he does plan on hiking Humphreys Peak again, but this time with absolutely no clouds in the sky. Caribe.
That is an incredible story, Chase. And I think asking for that photo probably saved both of their lives because that's what brought them together at that same spot.
It really did.
Yeah.
And it's just one thing that he can't stop thinking about. He thinks maybe if I was 5 minutes later, it could have been a different story. He's just been running it through his mind since the incident a couple days ago. But again, they're just both happy to be alive.
Yeah, they've got quite the tale to tell. All right, thanks so much, Chase. Well, new at 10, newly released body camera footage shows officers shooting a man at an apartment complex near 83rd Avenue and Indian School Road earlier this month. Officers responded to multiple reports of a man armed with a machete assaulting his wife and then threatening anyone who tried to call the police. Take a listen.
Are you in an apartment complex?
Yes,
And he has a machete?
he's been harassing her. He's ripped her shirt up.
Okay. Do you
He,
have the machete in his hand right now?
yes,
When an officer arrived, the man he saw was holding the machete there with a woman on the ground. The officer told him to let her go, but he continued to hold the machete up to her neck. So the officer shot him and was able to pull the woman to safety. The suspect, who police say was 47-year-old Francisco Aviles, died from his injuries. The Phoenix Union High School District is announcing plans to cut positions, blaming a major drop in enrollment and funding challenges. The superintendent says the district has lost about 3,000 students since the 2023 to 2024 school year. Those declines, along with the expiration of federal COVID relief dollars, have created a multi-million-dollar shortfall. To close the gap, the district says that it needs to cut about $20 million for the next school year's budget and will begin with a reduction in force in December. They're estimating about 6% of the workforce to be cut in total. Well, lines were long at St. Mary's Food Bank this morning as Arizonans stocked up on free food boxes. And in just days, those boxes could become the only source of meals for hundreds of thousands more. By November 1st, 850,000 low-income Arizonans could lose access to SNAP benefits if the government shutdown continues. The USDA says that it won't use emergency funds to keep the program running, and states will not be reimbursed if they have to come out of pocket. Governor Katie Hobbs says that there is very little that the state can do. Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes joined 22 other states today asking the USDA for clarity on what is next and detailing the harm caused to children, seniors, and veterans who rely on food assistance. And in the letter, they said, quote, "Our agencies and residents are entitled to answers about the USDA's plans for moving forward during this shutdown." A Buckeye couple is embarking on the journey of a lifetime. Cliff and Jennifer Vellucci have made it their mission to travel to every single ESPN College Day across the country, and they're doing it all by car. Now, so far, they have driven more than 12,000 miles and spent nearly 200 hours on the road. 12 News journalist Bianca Bono caught up with them as they were on their way to Nashville for tomorrow's game. And Bianca, how did they even come up with this idea? They have to be major sports fanatics.
They are, and Caribe, after you hear what they're doing, I'm so curious if you would do the same thing. They tell me they're huge sports fans and they love big events, not necessarily loyal to a particular college team, but they were really drawn in by the passion of these college towns featured on TV every Saturday. They've had this idea in the back of their minds for years and decided now was the time to do it.
This college football season, Saturdays look very different for Cliff and Jennifer Vellucci.
The spontaneity and the unknown is probably the best part about it.
That's because every Saturday, the Buckeye couple is at a different stadium, in a different state, usually in a different time zone.
August 23rd, we packed up our car from Buckeye and planned out for 3 months to not go home until after the game on December 7th, I believe it is, which is the conference championship game.
A 3-month road trip to visit every ESPN College game day. The one game per week the sports network chooses to highlight with a full production.
We truly wanted to see the country. We wanted to drive our country. And I know a lot of these college towns are in these very small, remote areas that aren't big cities, and that's really what we wanted to do.
They're big sports fans and came up with the idea years ago. Now their 5 kids are out of the house and they're able to work remotely. So Jennifer was adamant this was their year.
All of them have been a lot of fun, but I would say Neyland Stadium, the Tennessee game against Georgia was probably the top game, and then Penn State, the whiteout, that's always been on our bucket list.
Well, we don't know where we're going today.
Adding to the already logistical challenge of a 15-week road trip, they never know where they're headed next. It's announced weekly, usually on Sunday mornings.
This past Sunday, we literally checked out of our hotel at 11 a.m. and we're driving in the car and had no place to go. We didn't know where we were going.
During week 6 of the season, they were in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Then found out they were heading to Eugene, Oregon for week 7. Then back south to Athens, Georgia for week 8.
That can be stressful or it can be fun. And we've tried to just say, hey, this is fun.
It's kind of crazy, right? It doesn't even make sense.
But they're embracing the crazy.
Love you guys.
Reconnecting with family and friends along the way.
We've never been alone at any site. And these are people I haven't seen and we haven't seen for 30 years.
With 7 games to go, their sedan is still going strong.
I did get my oil changed in Springfield, Missouri, and then I had 2 tires replaced in Eugene, Oregon last week.
Taking in every town and touchdown along the way.
We just truly committed to doing it because we know time it's precious.
Okay, here are the things that were important to me when I interviewed them. When it comes to car snacks, they tell me they keep it healthy. They eat things like yogurt and fruit. They keep a cooler in the back seat. They do listen to music. Cliff drives while Jennifer works in the car, and they're very into fitness. So one of the only requirements they have when choosing a hotel is that it either has a gym or it's close to one. Tomorrow they will be at the Missouri Vanderbilt game in Nashville, and again, they will have no idea where they're heading next until Sunday morning. We're live in studio. Bianca Bono, 12 News.
Bianca, that sounds like so much fun. And you can tell they're the best of friends, right? Because that's the only way you could pull something off like that.
Yes, it is the only way. I think a road trip is a really great test if you are a good couple and you're going to last a long time. And they've been married for many, many years and they're having the best time together. So they are like marriage goals.
Yeah, for sure. You know, in retirement, I think everyone should do something spontaneous like that.
Totally.
All right, Bianca, thank you.